You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. The Winnipeg Fringe Festival is officially here, running from July 19th through 30th. More than 170 local, national, and international artists and companies present a wide array of theatrical offerings. One such work is The Dreams of Nebuchadnezzar, presented by Geraüschbiest, made up of brothers Jesse and Thomas Krause, who have joined me in the studio. Hello to you both.
Hey, good morning.
Howdy.
Thanks for being here. Jesse, welcome back. It's been a minute.
Yeah, a couple years.
Well, you're a local composer, an instrument builder. We last had you on in 2020 to talk about a Missa Brevis that was commissioned by the Winnipeg Singers. How you been?
Yeah, pretty good. You know, it's a pandemic. Had another kid since then. So
congrats.
yeah, thanks.
So lots has been going on.
Yeah.
Glad to have you back, especially to talk about this latest initiative.
Yeah.
Joined by your brother Thomas. I'm wondering, before we get to the Fringe show, I have to ask, Geraüschbiest? Noise beast? Is that right, Thomas?
Yeah, that's a rough translation. Noise beast, noise demon, I think, is another
way of looking at
Yeah.
it. Can you tell us about Geraüschbiest? It sounds like I can see it on a t-shirt. It sounds like a great name for a metal band.
Yeah, it's a wood band. Not quite metal because mostly it's acoustic instruments.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's an animalistic quality to everything that comes out of the workshop, and it's also quite abrasive in tone some of the time.
And we're going to hear more about that literally from one of these instruments that has joined you in the studio. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about The Dreams of Nebuchadnezzar, building on a previous work of yours, right, Jesse?
That's correct. Yeah, Belshazzar and Nebuchadnezzar was the previous title, and we've just expanded it to include a few more stories from the larger narrative.
So can you tell us more about that narrative?
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar, he was the most powerful person in the world when he was alive, by some accounts, and he was not a great king, and at some point he was punished for his misdeeds, and he loses his mind and believes that he's a cow for 7 years and lives out in the wilderness eating grass. And that's sort of the story. He has a number of premonitions that this is about to happen, and he has an advisor, Daniel, whose other name is Belshazzar. And Belshazzar tells him this is going to happen, and then it happens. And then that's what we witness. And
that's what we witness. And then that's sort of the thrust of this story, coming from the book of Daniel, this apocalyptic biblical tale. Lots to unpack there. Lots of fodder, I would imagine, for a Fringe show and in terms of what you're setting. So I'm curious, how do you take this epic story and then adapt it in the way that you have, set it to music? And I mean, what would you call it? Is it almost like an oratorio? Like, what would you characterize this work as?
Yeah, I think oratorio is the closest to pre-existing genres. It's maybe closer to an opera, but it's certainly not operatic singing, and there's a lot more sort of harmonized recitative that isn't from the perspective of any given character. So it's sort of an oratorio, modern oratorio.
In the Fringe write-up, you describe the instrumentation as uncanny. Can you tell us what makes it strange?
They're unique instruments in that they weren't produced in a factory anywhere. This particular one that we have here is a rotary octochord. It's not a robo-rotary octochord, though there are those in the menagerie. And this is the fourth generation, I think, of this type of instrument. I built some bass versions and some styrofoam versions, and this one is cleaner. It looks better, more professional, I guess.
It looks very professional indeed, and really curious to share its sound with the Classic 107 audience. But let me ask you, as an instrument builder, like, where do you start? I guess is sort of what I'm wondering here, because really, I guess it's sort of your imagination. Really, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah. You start in the same way that you start learning how to build a house and building a really terrible tree fort. I think my first things were they sounded okay and they didn't function very well. They didn't stay in tune, but nobody's life is depending on them not collapsing. So there's a lot of freedom to explore and experiment with very little consequence.
So we're going to hear a demo in just a little bit, but I want to talk more about this instrumentation, because adding to the color will be the Riel Gentlemen's Choir, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about how they factor into the work?
Yeah, there's sort of a Greek chorus, and then they echo a lot of the things that are going on, and they take on some of the characters, but they're quite fluid in that way. So they play the magicians all at once, and then all together they speak as Nebuchadnezzar, and then all together they speak as Belshazzar at various points, and they do some set prop type building activities.
Really cool. Thomas, I do want to ask you, tell us a little bit more about your role in this production.
So I guess this is a ensemble that I've been kind of honored to be a part of for quite a few years, and this reimagining of this early piece of ours, the first one that Jesse wrote for us. A lot of the rehearsals required the choir to be rehearsing and blocking and choreographing, but so I got to sit back a lot and play like a sort of a producer role, just kind of watch it happen and give my input and try to keep an eye on the time. And
What's it like working with your brother?
It's a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really fun singing together with someone that it's like somewhat easy to blend with and have this mutual goal together. It's a special project.
So I'm curious, it sounds like it's going to be a really cool show. Where is it taking place?
CCFM in the
Fantastic.
Pauline Boutal Theatre.
So it's running through the entirety of the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. We'll be sure to get all the details up at classic107.com. We're going to hear a little bit of music before I let you go. Jesse, how did you describe this instrument? A roto-octacord?
That's correct, yeah.
There we go, a roto-octacord. So for those who can't see it, we'll be sure to get it up on the website, classic107.com. But can you describe what this instrument looks like?
It's an octagonal prism, about 8 inches in diameter, maybe 16 inches long, and has an axle, and it rotates around this axle. And there are strings on each of the 8 sides. And so the pitches of the strings aren't changed, but the string that we have access to changes as you rotate it. And we have a large bundle of horsehair that bows many of the strings at the same time. And yeah, it's got bridges, it's got tuners. In many ways, it's a conventional instrument.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to share this sound with the listenership. So what are we going to hear from the Dreams of Nebuchadnezzar?
We're going to hear a small piece on the text, The Voice of the Sea, which is actually a poem by George Russell Williams,
yeah,
an Irish poet. And this is a little bit of transitional material to connect some of Daniel's apocalyptic dreams and to introduce the ocean that speaks some harsh words to Nebuchadnezzar at some point.
All right, so here in the Classic 107 studio, a roto-octacord with the Krause brothers performing.
And of this beast told the voice of the warring sea, beating on rock and cave. The winds were white and weeping, with foam dust of the wave. They thundered louder, louder, with storm lips curled in scorn, and dost thou tremble before us, O fallen star of the
On Winnipeg's Classic 107, we just heard brothers Jesse and Thomas Krause, together known as Geraüschbiest, performing a selection from The Dreams of Nebuchadnezzar, presented as part of the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.